Hey everyone, it's Adam again. Bartlett is here next to me, being cute as always. But what we wanted to talk about this week are the things that I love, my favorite things, I guess you could say, about my visual impairment, my disability. Because, people always hear disability and they think the negative. They think the things that you can't do, the drawbacks, the challenges, the obstacles. And there are certainly those things. And in a later video, if people comment on it and like this video and are interested in hearing about some of those particular negative things, although I've already talked certainly about the biggest thing for me, which is independence and transportation, um, I'm certainly open to talking about anything that's as it relates to my specific disability, my challenges. But I think this week it's important to talk about, because I did talk about gratefulness in a recent video, to talk about the things um, that I am authentically grateful for, to go back to last week's video. So the first thing that I am grateful for is the jokes, man, because it's funny. Like, I'm a big believer that life is too short to take yourself too seriously. And the things that I have done because of my vision, the quote unquote accidents I've had, right, where I've bumped into something, or the fact that when I was in law school, a couple of my buddies and I convinced a bouncer at a gentleman's club that it was an Americans with Disabilities Act violation to charge a blind guy a cover at a strip club. That was fun. The fact that when I was, this is true, as I think I talked about in a previous video, when I was 11, I talked to a mirror for 10 minutes because I didn't know it was a mirror. Other things like that. I love music, and that's one of the other things I'll talk about in a bit. But I do love music, and I do have enough residual vision that I can walk around listening to headphones a lot when I'm not out with Bart. And when I do that, a lot of times I have my cane in my hand, and I'll see people staring at the guy with the cane wearing the headphones. I can see well enough to notice that they're staring. Like, why is the guy with the cane covering up his ears, which one would think are relatively essential for a blind person to navigate by themselves? Reasonable question, but the staring I find funny. So what do? I am not above taking my cane and starting to play it like an air guitar, because it's funny. So I love the jokes. I love making people a little bit uncomfortable, not in a mean way, never in a mean-spirited way, but in a way that challenges their perceptions. And that's sort of what I hope this video series does as well. And I enjoy that. I find that really gratifying. So that's the first thing that I really embrace about my disability. I think the second thing, I'm going to break this into two parts because it's empathy on two levels. Empathy for me, right? I think it's made me more empathetic from day one to the people in this world who have challenges, have obstacles, whether it's poverty or disability or a myriad other things that are obstacles that can so often be missed by upper middle class, especially white males in today's society. I, at a young age, was engaged and involved in being empathetic and also recognizing the power that, again, as we've talked about previously, that politics and political backgrounds and government can have to make people's lives better. I think that's why I've always been drawn to the political realm. So I think that's certainly an area where my disability has made me more empathetic to the struggles that others are going through. But the second thing about empathy that I think has been fantastic for me is my brother and sister are two of the most caring, empathetic human beings you will ever meet. They weren't always that way. I think my brother would probably admit that, but he's 35 years old. We all have times where we grow up. He's grown up. He's an awesome human being. My sister, same thing, awesome human being, and incredibly empathetic because I think of their upbringing, my parents and our support system, our grandparents, certainly, absolutely, but also because of me and my disability. And I don't mean that I taught them that. I mean that what they witnessed taught them empathy. I think, look, I've said this to them before, I'll say it to you guys. I know that my siblings sacrificed a lot because of my disability. They're both younger, but my parents, whether it was taking me to Boston for eye surgeries or a myriad other things that they had to do for me, I keep using that word. I got to stop using the word myriad. Anyway, all the things that they had to do for me, um, my brother and sister gave up some of the time that they probably, if not consciously, at least subconsciously, wanted and deserved with my parents. But they've never made me feel guilty for that. They've never brought it up to me. They've never asked me about it. They've never, as far as I know, asked my parents about it. But I know it impacted them. And I think it impacted them overall for good. I'm sure there were struggles and challenges that they haven't shared with me about it. But I am so grateful to them for that. And that empathy is something that now I have, and now I believe my brother and sister have, at least in part, because of my disability. And so I'm grateful to my disability, and that's one of my favorite things about my disability. Absolutely. There are other great things too. I think it has shown me the good in people. I think people want to help. Now, sometimes that help isn't needed and they make assumptions that are erroneous, right? And go overboard with that. But I think generally my life experience has been one where I've seen the good in people because of what I can't see with my eyes. I think people are always trying to say, Adam, what do you need? Can I help you? Can I do this for you? Now, I don't like people doing things for me. I want people to show me how to do things or help me figure out ways to adapt to do it myself rather than have them do it for me. But there are things that I can't do. And when I come to those things and somebody has that empathy and that humanity to help me figure out how to do those things for myself or help me or to do them for me in those circumstances, and that has shown me the good in humanity day in, day out for most of my life. And I'm incredibly thankful for that. That is definitely one of my favorite things about blindness and visual impairment. The community of people who are blind and visually impaired, it's a community that, as I talked about, I've shied away from. But whether it's through the internet or through my advocacy or through other things that I've done, I've become more connected to the blind and visually impaired community, the disability community. It's an awesome community of people who want to shatter stereotypes every single day, who want to change the world for the better, who want to make not only their own lives better, but other people's lives better as well. And that is definitely one of my favorite things about having a disability. I think one of my other favorite things is the opportunity to educate, especially little kids. I love that. I love when I'm on the T in Boston. If you don't know what the T is, the subway, it's the acronym. I love when I'm on the T and a little kid sees my cane or sees my eye or whatever it is, and they ask me. Don't ever stop your kid from asking somebody in a polite way, obviously, but don't ever tell them, don't ask, don't stare. I want a kid to get those answers. I want to be able to educate that child because if I don't have that opportunity and they just wonder and stare and point and the rest of their lives, then eventually they're going to be adults who don't know, who don't have information, who make assumptions, and I have an opportunity when they're young to teach them in that moment, hey, yes, this is why I carry this cane. This is why my eye looks this way. But it doesn't make me scary, right? And I talk to them on their level, and that's an awesome opportunity. It's so much fun too to see a kid when I take my cane out and undo it, and it's a as you may or may not know, it's got like a rope inside, and so it's like a tent pole when it unfolds, and kids love that shit, man. It's so fun. I think that's great. I think that opportunity and then I'll show them how it works. You put your finger on the side here and you roll it back and forth. And by the way, I'm a shitty blind guy. I do not use my cane properly because I was a stubborn teenager, never did the mobility training that I needed. And I'm lucky, knock on wood, you can't see me knocking on wood, but I am, that my residual vision is enough that I use my cane more so that other people know that I have a visual impairment rather than to identify the ground in front of me. Now, I probably could get more information from it if I would use it properly, but I still don't know how to do that. And I'm 40 years old. I probably ain't going to learn now unless my vision gets markedly worse. But the opportunity to educate, definitely one of my favorite things about my disability, about my visual impairment, about my blindness. Um, I think generally, as I've said before, it is a gift. There are so many great things that my disability has given to me. I would take 20/20 vision tomorrow if I could get it. I would. Some people in my community feel very differently. I would take it because of the obstacles that I do have to struggle with every single day, and primarily independence. But at the same time, I would not trade the last 40 years for anything, because every single day with this disability has been a gift and a privilege and an opportunity to learn and to do things that you, as somebody without a disability or without a disability right now, because remember, anyone could unfortunately become someone with a disability tomorrow. But it has given me the opportunity to do things and to understand things and the nuance of things that somebody without a disability just doesn't have. And I'm very blessed that way. I'm very fortunate. So those are some of my favorite things. I didn't sit and make a top 10 list or think too in depth. So there are probably other things as well. But I encourage you, as always, to comment below, ask questions. Subscribe, certainly. Tell me what you want to know. Tell me what I can share with you that would be interesting for you. These topics are meaningful to me, and I want to keep sharing with the world. So look forward to having you watch this and see what you think.